Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Where the Road Gets Real. My name is Chris Toon and I'm going to be your host. We're going to go hop in my truck. We're going to go up and down Southeast Idaho and we're going to pick up a local expert along the way. We're going to talk about things that matter, some things that don't, and literally everything in between. So if you're ready, let's go head out to the truck and go pick them up. All right, guys, on today's show, we have my buddy Austin Kinghorn. He's the owner operator of Cousin Eddy's Septic, and we are going to affectionately call this show the Pottycast episode. So that was courtesy of my wife. So thank you, Sarah, and let's go hop in.
Well, guys, this is Austin. Say hi.
How's it going, guys?
So, where'd you bring me today?
So we are here. This is one of the big questions I always get asked when we're pumping septics is what do you do with it after it comes out of the septic tank? And so my canned response always is you pick the neighbor you hate the most, let me know. And I swing back through that night and I
Totally worth it.
make sure and just let them have a little extra fertilizer, but can't do that. So Nobody wants to go to jail today. So we're here at the wastewater treatment plant here in Idaho Falls. And so there's a handful of wastewater treatment plants here in the valley that do accept waste from septic tanks. And so this is where everything that comes out of your septic tank ends up here. So we pull up. There's paperwork we have to fill out. We get billed by the city from every load we dump. And then it goes off and gets treated and goes right back into the Snake River.
It was interesting what you were telling me earlier, too, was that it's not by the pound, it's by the load, right? Or the size that you bring in.
Correct. Yeah. So it's by the way that at least the city of Idaho Falls does it. It's by the tank capacity of your tank. So if you have a very large tank,
that's what you're paying
that's
for.
What you're paying for. Whether
no matter what's in there.
No matter what's in there, whether it's 1 gallon or 10,000 gallons, same price.
So you got to be super strategic about where you're going, how many places you can put in.
Yep.
How much crap you could pack in there.
Exactly. So there's a lot of logistics involved with it as far as scheduling out folks, trying to plan out routes, things like that. So
that's cool. I actually didn't even know this back. And just to be transparent, guys, don't come and try to drop off your RV stuff here. This is not the place to do it. So
yeah, the city will fine you and you will get in trouble. So that is just for septic waste haulers, folks with porta potties. You have to have a contract or an agreement with the city, a bunch of paperwork, go through the health department to be able to actually haul that stuff. So
how long does that take?
There's some inspections involved, so you have to go through and inspect. Then there's some fees that you have to pay out for both the health department as well as the city of Idaho Falls.
So you have to pay a crap load of money?
It's everything's a crap load when it comes to pumping septics.
I feel like these puns are just going to keep rolling.
Oh, yeah.
The whole show.
I think that's going to be a common occurrence for anything in the septic industry. That's how it's just got to be.
I think it was made for like dads. It's too perfect now.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You got it. And that's really where we came up with the name Cousin Eddy Septic is you got to get a laugh. I mean, and the really funny thing about it is it's a generational thing. If you're younger, I found that a lot of people have no idea.
Really?
It's super funny. I had some college kids helping us out, and they're like, "So is Cousin Eddy like your cousin? Is this a family member?" It's like, no, this is from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. No, don't you remember? Shitter's full, and it's just a blank stare. Like they have no idea. So
it's straight up your logo, dude.
It is absolutely. So that's where the name came from.
Well, we met when you came and serviced our septic tank when we were moving from Blackfoot. So we relocated 4 years ago before this last move, and never had a septic tank before. So that's how we started talking. Was purely educational because I had no idea what went into it. So what are some common misconceptions that are out there with septic tanks? Like things that, we're talking about what can't you put down or shouldn't you put down the drain?
Yeah, absolutely. We'll start out with things you should never put down. Flushable wipes.
That one amazes me.
Yeah, so flushable wipes, they say they're flushable. They do not deteriorate. So when you go to suck out a septic tank and you use flushable wipes, there's literally just gobs of wipes that don't deteriorate. So even if they say they're septic safe, do not use flushable wipes. So
Okay.
that is number one big no-no.
It just means they're flushable, not.
Yep, they'll get down the pipes, but
That's
yep,
it.
That's it. They're gonna fill up your tank. They're gonna cause you issues, and again, it's just a nightmare because then it's just clogging up hoses, and it's a big mess. So that's a huge problem.
Is that the same when you like if you're on city water and stuff like that?
The city, I wouldn't ever recommend using them just because the city has better ways of managing and handling it.
Okay.
And and I can't speak for the city per se, but after touring the wastewater treatment plants around here, I've seen how they can handle it. So they do have a much better way. They have big
Kind of like skim it off.
Yeah, they have big filter separators. So basically, everything comes in and they suck out all the solids and all the big stuff that gets flushed down the pipes. So
Okay.
I wouldn't recommend it just because it's just one more big thing that can plug up a pipe and cause you issues as a homeowner.
I feel like there's so many myths like that people like putting in a certain amount of yeast for
or additives, or there's almost anytime you talk to anyone about septics, there's going to be somebody that brings up, well, my grandpa didn't pump his septic for 25 years and it was perfectly fine. He never had an issue and is going strong, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And that's just a super common thing I hear all the time. And so I'll tell you, I've been to houses with failed systems, and that's a really bad day, because what happens when your system fails is that every drop of water that goes into your tank and fills it up, the drain field is clogged, or it has it's completely been saturated. There's nowhere for that water to go. So where's it going? Where's it going to go? It's going to go back up into your house. And so until you either get a new drain field or get that resolved, that's going to be the way it is. So there was a house down in Firth that I had to go to multiple times while they were trying to resolve their issues with the drain field. And that it just gets really expensive.
Oh, I'm sure.
And the other issue really comes down to, now you're talking thousands of dollars. And again, I don't install drain fields, but there are a lot of companies that do.
How far down are the drain fields?
It depends on the house. Usually, any of the newer houses all have sump pumps.
Okay.
And so they're going to basically pump it out from your basement up. And typically your tanks are anywhere from a foot to a foot and a half deep. And then your drain field is just a little bit deeper than that.
It's funny you brought up the sump pump. And I think it was right after you came, and we were doing our inspections or something was coming up, and the power went out and I forgot to reset it, and it was backing up after a day, I think, downstairs. And I was like, oh my goodness, I got to get you back out because, something's happening. And I forgot to turn the pump back on. So I had my buddy come over and he's like, hey, I was like, okay.
Push the button, away you go.
You live and you learn, right? So at least it was that way.
No, that's that helps.
That was the least of.
So yeah, that's a big one, is this never having to pump. Industry standard recommendations every 3 to 5 years.
Okay.
So that's just.
Do you give like a certificate with that, or is it just like a receipt? So people
usually what I'll do is I've got all of our customers on a customer database, and so I at the time that I pump them out, I usually will talk to them about what my expectation is for, hey, I would recommend us coming back in X amount of time. We'll reach back out to them just so that way it's, we found that people just tend to forget.
Yeah. Until you need it.
Yeah. And so that's just one of those things where we just want to take that off your plate. And then again, we don't do the whole high pressure cells or anything else like that. We just want to make sure that your systems are being taken care of.
Right.
So.
Well, it makes your job a lot easier too if you're not coming in when there's a problem, that you're actually proactively maintaining something.
Absolutely. I like to use the analogy. It's, you can argue over how often you need to change the oil on your car.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's ever going to say you never need to change the oil.
Right.
That's just, it has to happen, right?
For sure.
And that's kind of the same analogy I use for a septic tank. Is it needs to get pumped. And if you wait too long, you do risk possibly fouling up your drain field, and then you're thousands to $10,000 plus to fix. Plus they tear up your whole yard. Plus you don't have any water that you can go down the drain until that's resolved.
Yeah, that's
so it's fun as having the outhouse porta potty outside of your house.
Pretend like you're camping for a while.
Yeah, it's gonna be great, kids. Just like the olden
days.
Yeah, it's like Grandpa that he didn't have to clean out his septic for 25 years, but they had an outhouse on and off. So
put a spoonful in there and you're good to go.
You'll be all right.
You're fine. how do they determine how big of a septic tank, right? Because there's not just like one size fits all, right?
Right. That's all determined by codes. And so usually it's going to be determined by square footage and bathrooms
Okay.
built into your house. Common sizes, I usually just tell people they're usually 1,000 to 1,500 gallons.
Dang. Okay.
So 1,000 gallons going to be for a somewhat smaller house, and then 1,500 if you start getting into really, really big places, and then you have custom engineered solutions. It can get bigger and a lot more complicated.
So, are they all gravity fed, or is it like pressurized, or how does that work?
Typically, yes. So yeah, we'll just
Tackle the whole thing.
Well, yeah, I was gonna say there's a lot of different things I've seen, but typically, yes. So you're gonna have either everything's gonna be gravity fed. So if you go to an older home, they didn't typically have sumps in the basement, and so everything's gravity fed. So that means if you've got a basement, that means your septic tank's got to be that much lower than your basement for everything to gravity feed in.
Right.
So just due to the challenge of trying to pump those out, a lot of times now they're using pumps to get it up, so that way your tank's not near as deep, so you don't have to dig it down 6 feet down to do it.
Right.
If you do find you have a really deep tank, highly recommend buying and installing risers.
Okay.
So essentially they're just just imagine a big pipe that goes down to the bottom of the lid.
It's just a cap,
and then
kind of bringing it up.
Caps, yeah, brings it all the way up. You can bring it up to the surface or just below surface.
Oh, cool.
Grass over it. So I've seen it both ways. But yeah, if you've got a really deep tank, it's
Not
tough.
fun.
No, and again, you don't want to have to come out with a backhoe to dig up your yard every so many years.
Right.
So that's what's led to a lot of these systems failing is people just wouldn't do it
not
because
easy.
it's not easy. It's really difficult to do.
See all these elk over here?
Oh yeah, they got an elk farm right there.
So now I just want dinner.
Nice elk steak. Sounds pretty dang good right now.
Right? Yeah, man. So
maybe one of the things that I think is a common question I get is, how do you tell how full a septic tank is?
okay.
So I get asked that quite frequently.
Can you tell from the outside?
No.
Okay.
So the best way, if you really, really want to judge, they have these, imagine a clear tube. And so what they'll do is, it's called a sludge judge, is one of the brands. But there's imagine just like a ball at the very bottom of it. So you're going to shove this all the way to the bottom of your tank.
Okay.
And pull it all the way up, and then it'll trap all the different layers. So you'll be able to see the bottom, how much sludge is actually in it, how much, gray water, if you will, is in the middle, and then you're kind of that crust layer on the top.
Okay. What makes up those layers?
It's just a different, so essentially all the solids, as you flush your toilet, anything else that goes into your tank, all the solids should settle in the bottom.
Okay.
And so that's ultimately what we want to get out of there, because I call it your gray water, so your cleanish water.
Okay.
That's what we want to go push out to the drain field. So when you start getting solids and other things into your drain field, that's when you start to plug up the system. Yep. So with that system, that sludge judge, you can gauge and see what those different levels are.
Gotcha.
My recommendation for people is, if you wanted me to come out and do that, by the time I drive out there and do all that, I just say put that money towards actually pumping your septic tank, because it's just not. Could we do it? Yes. I don't.
But you're paying to get down there anyway.
Correct. Yeah. So by the time you've uncovered everything and you've looked at it, my recommendation is always just to pump it like that.
And then you restart your ticker.
Yeah. And then you restart everything all over again. And again, if you've got a whole bunch of teenagers or a large number of folks living in your house, I pump more frequently.
Yeah.
So if it's
so same house, if you had 2 people, take a little bit longer, 4 plus. It's gonna go quicker.
If you got 4 teenagers, it's shorten that up a little bit, but
okay. That's crazy. That's okay. So you talk about going in there and cleaning it up. Mm-hmm. Are you actually going in there and like?
No. I will not. There's this thing called confined spaces that OSHA has a pretty strong stance on.
Right.
So I don't get into septic tanks. That's just kind of a rule of thumb, and part of it's an insurance thing, right?
Right.
So if
I were to fun time.
Yeah, it sounds like a great time. If I or one of my workers was to go down inside of one of those tanks, that's a bad day. So for everybody's health and safety, I don't recommend that. If you want it there's some reason you need to go do repairs, we'll help you find.
Other than
professional.
repairing it, is there any real benefit to getting in there
No.
and scrubbing the thing?
No,
clean?
no, not at all. Because when we pump it down, again, we've got a tank mixer. So
Okay.
it's called a crust buster. So
They have the best names in the
oh yeah,
industry.
it's awesome. So imagine an ice auger on steroids with a boat propeller on the bottom of it.
Okay.
And so that's what I use to mix up the tanks. And so that allows us to make sure that everything in the tank is really mixed up well.
Okay.
So that way, as we just pump it down, we don't just get, that top scum layer and then
It's
scum to the
actually-
black water. We get everything mixed up really
Slush it
nicely.
up and-
Yeah. I've heard them called poops smoothies. We're kind of leaning towards turd tornadoes.
Okay.
So, we're kind of figuring out our own, spin on it, if you will.
Yeah. Not only the coolest names for it, but literally like some of the gadgets are like the thing. I want to see how they came up with some of these things.
And I think it was just by necessity. I think somebody said, man, this would be really nice if we could just mix the tank up a lot easier.
Seed meat, filling it.
Yeah. And so
Somebody
yeah.
didn't want to get in there and do it anymore.
No. And I've seen, some guys will use like rakes and stuff to try to mix it up by hand.
Yeah.
I mean, you're just not very effective.
So, we kind of talked about putting spoonfuls of yeast or whatever down the toilet. Does that actually help at all?
And there's just a lot of old wives' tales with this. I've never seen any studies done. I've never seen any actual information showing this is beneficial, do this or that. There's a whole bunch of products. I mean, if you go to any of your local hardware stores, there's going to be a whole bunch of septic additives you can add. I don't think they're not going to do you any harm. I'm just not convinced that all of that cost, literally flushing it down the drain, is that beneficial to you.
It's not going to eliminate half of your septic tank.
No, I don't see it. So
yeah, I mean, I figure if you were going to put an organism down there to eat it, how much you would have to put in to get it to eat.
Yeah, and the other thing you got to think about is the first time you run bleach in your washing machine, or you're doing your dishes in your dishwasher, and there's all this soap stuff that goes down, or and.
You're right.
How much is that impacted as well?
Yeah, you're not sitting down there waiting. And
I just don't know that you're.
It can't be good for it.
No, it's not helpful. But again, that's why with as soon as you have garbage disposal and all these other things that are going, everything in your house ends up in the septic tank. Everything that goes down a drain goes there.
Mm-hmm.
So
is it good even if you have a garbage disposal built in to try to eliminate the big stuff before?
Yeah, I recommend not using the garbage disposal. I mean, you can use it, and here's the reality: I don't ever want to try to dictate what people's lifestyles are like. I just everybody loves modern conveniences. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not going to go tell you no showers, no this. That's crazy talk.
Yeah.
But I would recommend, if you are going to use your garbage disposal a lot, again, that's just that much more solids going into your septic tank. Probably want to pump it a little bit more frequently. And if you want to manage that a little bit better and throw some more stuff in the trash rather than put it down the garbage disposal, that probably helps just extend out your time a little bit.
Right. Yeah, throw it out in your garden.
Yeah, there you go. Little compost ease.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, why not?
Absolutely.
I mean, tons of gardening shit's out here, so that's cool. What's another misconception? You said the flushable wipes. What about coffee grounds?
You can, but again, it's just
Why?
I don't.
I've just seen so many people like, you can't do that, and I'm like, I don't.
I wouldn't necessarily recommend it because it's just more solids.
Junk in there.
It's just more junk going down into your septic tank. But
It's not gonna really.
I don't think it's going to make a world, huge difference between that and when you go, your kids are playing in the sandbox and are covered in sand, and you go wash them off in the shower or tub.
Right.
All that sand, all that stuff's going to your septic tank. I mean, so there's all these things that are going to go in there regardless, no matter what you do.
Right.
I think,
And that's why you have to do your 3 to 5 year.
Yeah. And the other thing to look at is, it's a good opportunity for you to just go and inspect the system, make sure that, hey, are all the baffles in place? Does everything look good? Is there anything weird that we're seeing that?
So do you send like a camera down there?
when I do like a real estate inspection, I actually do a full septic tank inspection. Yes, I do run the camera down. I do inspect. I have an inspection checklist that we've developed. For general pumping, I take a look. I'm not going to do
Anything
as
stands
thorough.
out.
Yeah, if anything stands out, if I see any issues.
So if you see like a huge wet spot in the lawn.
Yeah, or something weird, or the biggest thing we're looking for is as we pump it down, I'm listening to hear if I hear a bunch of water rushing back in.
Okay.
And so sometimes what that'll indicate is that we've got drain field issues. And so your drain field's saturated. So as we bring the level of water down, it's actually
It'll
coming
come
back into the tank.
So how's that work? So you flush it, either the sub pump, it takes it out to your tank.
So the tank, the way the tank is set up, so it has baffles on your inlet and your outlet. So what all a baffle is, it's an open-ended T.
Okay.
And so it's just a pipe that essentially open on both ends, and it goes down further down into your septic tank. And so the idea behind that is everything coming in from the house, all the solids are going to get pushed to the bottom.
Okay.
And then as a crust layer forms, none of that is able to
Go back.
cover the top and plug back up your line. So you have that same pipe on your outlet as well. Because again, we want the cleaner of the water to be pushing out to the drain field, so we don't want to push any solids down there.
Okay.
So that level is always, so people, a lot of times they're like, wow, my septic tank looked really full visually. It's always the same level. So
it's just the water
water,
level.
yeah, it's just the water level. It's always in it. It's just that same constant spot right there.
Do you ever have any like grates or anything like underneath on like the going out part?
No, some places, in some parts of the country, they have more filtration systems, and there's other systems like in some parts of the country, it's because of their clay soil, they have a really hard time actually getting it to go down into the soil.
Oh.
And so they'll actually have like aeration units, and then they'll try to aerate it, and then it'll actually get sprayed out on the lawn.
Oh.
So like there's other units, or in some of the areas here where we've got a high water table, up around Rigby in some areas, they have some slightly different septic systems just because of the high water table. So, some places if you can't dig a basement,
yeah,
makes sense. You can't. Yeah, it's hard to have water go and push back down.
When you're going in, well, two things. How far away is the cab normally to get in to clean it? And then are you going closer to the house, or are you going to the one toward the drain field?
Yeah, so a typical septic tank has two lids. Again, they're plastic and they're concrete septic tanks. So they're a couple different types, but we'll just stick with typical. There's two lids. I'll usually come to the lid closest to the house. We can do both. It really doesn't matter. It just matters. I just want to get it clean and check everything out.
Okay.
So that is one thing. Like, if ever you're backed up into your house, that's one thing you can check is possibly you can have it backed up right there on that baffle going into your septic tank.
Oh.
So I've seen where, folks will have that.
It's just like where it comes out on that scene.
Correct. Yeah. And so like I had a place up in Island Park that they do a lot of tourism during the summer, and their toilet backed up. They had the plumber come out. The plumber said, it's a septic issue. It's not a me issue. So you need to call a septic guy. So we drove all the way up there, opened it up. And as soon as you open up the cover for the septic tank, you could see right in that T, there's just chock full of toilet paper. So again,
flushable wipes.
Yeah, flushable wipes. Exactly. So if you're a homeowner, that's something you can look at and say, all right, I can go get a stick or something and just literally knock it into the tank. And as soon as you do that, it just...
And eventually that'll settle to the ground, to the bottom.
Yep, and then we'll just pump it out. So that's something you can look at. Also, a lot of people think that there's about a 4-inch black PVC pipe typically just outside of your house.
Yes.
And so that comes up right next to the foundation typically. And so that's a clean out.
Okay.
So that's not a septic anything. All that is, it's allowing your pipe. So if you get a plug between your house and the septic tank, you can run a snake down that and actually clean that out and push it all back to the septic tank.
That was me.
Yes.
Yeah. When you showed up, I was like, hey, it's here.
It's right here. Nope.
It's over there.
Nope, that's not it. So, yeah, and that's a common misconception. A lot of people are like, oh, well, it's just right here. This is easy. And it's like, well, that helps. Yeah, that helps give me, an idea of where it probably
we're going
is.
this way.
Yeah, more likely not. We're probably straight out away from it. But
yeah.
Every house can be different. I've seen some houses that they were 45 degrees off of it and 25, 30 feet away in a weird spot.
Is there a way to look up the plans?
Yeah, you can contact the health department.
Okay.
And so they've got all of the designs and all the plans for septic tanks.
Is that by county?
It's by county, yep. And then anything you get much more than 50 years, so we'll say mid 1970s, early 1970s, then it gets a lot harder.
Okay.
And so now you're...
How long what's the lifespan on a tank?
That's a good question.
30-ish?
It depends. I mean, it's going to depend
Okay.
on how you maintain it. So, and that's another reason why I suggest pumping it, because if you don't pump it for extended periods of time, a lot of times you'll build up sewer gases, and
Okay.
those are corrosive to concrete. And so I've seen some tanks that they start breaking away and having issues.
So is the whole tank concrete?
The whole tank's concrete,
Okay.
or plastic. I've seen you can have both.
Is it pretty thick?
Yeah, it's pretty thick. It's probably about maybe like 4 inches thick.
Oh,
so it's
okay. It's hefty.
It's hefty, yeah.
So, I mean, I've always told people, like, when we're driving up to places, specifically like Blackfoot, Groveland area and stuff like that, where they have a septic tank in, and they're going to, like, park somewhere. You're like, oh, don't drive.
Yeah, do not drive over the septic.
Bleachfield. Yeah.
Yeah, so that is a big thing, is you want to make sure, especially if you decide you want to put in a back patio or something else.
You're not.
Yeah, if a cement truck comes into your backyard and drives over that, yeah, he's probably going to go right through it. And so now you're in a really, really bad spot. Because now not only do you have to tow a truck full of cement truck out of,
but now you got to go down.
Now you got to go down and replace your whole system. So knowing where it's at is really important. Or I've even seen people that have put, they poured sidewalks and they poured it right over top of their tank.
So they got to come back.
Yeah, because now there's no access to the lid. And it's like, your tank's right here. You gotta...
Could you do like a walkway or something like that? But as long as it's not covering the lid?
Yeah. I mean, at some point, if you ever have to replace your tank, you might have to tear it out. But again...
How much are tanks?
I don't know. I haven't...
I feel like it's one of those, if you have to ask, it's too much.
I was going to say thousands of dollars. I mean, it's just
not a Home Depot.
No. It's not cheap. And you have to be certified by the state to install them.
Yeah. So there's no DIY with that.
You can, but there's specific rules you have to follow, and they're real strict on it. So you do have to have it inspected. And
that's my next question.
Yep.
So that somebody has to come out,
correct,
and sign off.
Yep. Make sure everything looks good and it's up to spec.
Down far enough. Have you ever seen them like too high up? Like, is there a limit? Like, does it have to be underneath the ground a certain amount?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
And it all is going to depend on, you get into some older stuff, and there's some wacky stuff, and there's some weird things, and
we've all seen it.
Oh yeah, we've seen all sorts of stuff that you're like, that's definitely not code.
Do that dog head tilt thing.
Yeah, that's not good. I mean, I pulled up to some folks' house, and they've got failing systems, or they've got tanks with cracks, or things are broken on it, and you're like, oh boy. I mean, we'll do the best we can do with you, but you got
a miracle worker.
Yeah, I can't fix this stuff. That's just outside of our scope.
Yeah.
So typically as a homeowner, what you're going to want to do is if you're purchasing a house with a septic tank, you're going to want to make sure it was pumped and inspected.
Mm-hmm.
That's just first and foremost. You want to make sure that somebody's gone through, that they've pumped it out and looked at it. So I get asked, well, can you inspect my tank without pumping it? No.
Okay.
And part of it is I can't see underneath the water. I mean, I could put on some scuba gear. We could really get into some real high expense, rates for doing that. But I don't think you'd want to. Yeah, I think let's just pump it out. And part of it is we want to pump it out. I want to look at the what your tank looks like, what the baffles, what everything inside looks like, and make sure everything's good. So that's a big thing. So knowing where your tank is, making sure it's pumped out. The other big thing I've seen in a couple of places is tree roots.
Oh,
people plant trees far too close to their septic systems.
Mm-hmm.
And what do trees love? Water.
So they just go straight.
They just go straight. Yeah, there's a poor house up in kind of out almost to St. Anthony that they called and said they were having some drain issues. I showed up. When I pulled off the lid, it was just tree roots.
Ooh.
The whole tank was completely filled with tree roots from the willow that was right there. And so just over the years, it had figured out how to worm down in, and it's just created this huge root network that just sucks the water out. But that can get clogged into your drain field. That can cause you all sorts of problems. And so there are additives you can add in that do kill tree roots going into your septic tank. So if you have concerns about that, I would recommend adding those additives just to try to keep all the roots out, keep everything else out.
Is there any ever? Is there any ever? Good English.
Yeah.
Do you ever get like the leach fields like freezing during the winter, or are they beyond?
Usually they're below the frost line. So I've never seen that. Depending, like I said, depending on the time of the year and where your drain field's at and how high the water table is, I have seen issues from that. So like if it's a really wet spring and you have a high water table, I've talked to people that have had issues with their drain fields not working as good as other times of the year, just because as the water table rises, it's harder for you to push more water into something.
It's already saturated.
Yep, it's already saturated.
Like, and that's another thing too. Is it? I know we said like if there's spots, but is it ever supposed to be like just wet around there?
No, it shouldn't ever be wet.
Okay. And if you see, like, is the grass going to be greener right there?
Yeah, sometimes the grass will be greener, and a lot of times it's going to depend on how much, like, how well of a sprinkler system they have and what that. But yeah, like if you don't water the yard anywhere else,
that's the spot.
That spot's going to be far greener. So the rest of the yard could burn up, and you're
Is that nasty to walk through in your bare feet, though?
Questionable. The water should be deep enough down that it's just the water, so it's not. It should.
So it's like underneath. It's getting the roots. And
yeah.
You're not,
so again, you shouldn't be wading through squishiness,
right? Like I mean, if you got
yeah.
If you have substance there,
yeah. If you're wading through
on.
squishiness, then you're gonna have some drain field problems.
Time to get checked out.
Time to start getting some stuff figured
out. Okay. So, I mean, getting pumped. Is there anything else other than on a regular maintenance schedule that they can do in the meantime?
Like I said, I'm not a huge believer in additives. I know there's some people that absolutely swear by them, and I'm not going to try to argue with those people, and that's right. And I'm going to say if that's something you think will help your system, go forth and conquer. The other biggest thing is just monitoring what you're putting into your tank, and other than that, it's just I'd get onto a regular maintenance program,
preventative
maintenance.
It's going to be a lot cheaper for you in the long run.
Absolutely, yeah.
And you know what you got. I mean, I think that's key too. Is kind of I didn't know a lot of this stuff when we came in. Like I just like just you hear it's nasty and that's it.
Yeah.
And don't realize that there's a whole system and like the different levels, and which was cool when you came out there. And I remember I tried to dig my
yep.
I was like, no, I'm gonna do it. I'll save you some work. And then you got out there. It's like I can't find it. I had this big what I get like a 5-6 foot rod. And
you were trying
banging
to
around
and find it.
I got close.
Yeah, you weren't too far off.
I got close,
but it's and there's a little bit of a skill in that too. So So I've been asked, what do you do when you can't find septic tank? Well, for us, the biggest thing is, I'm going to look at. By now, I've got a pretty good idea usually where they're at.
Right.
So any newer houses, they're pretty easy to find. If it's a concrete tank, we either get out a probe bar, so we can probe it around and find it pretty quick, or we can use a metal detector.
Usually a metal latch on.
There's a metal latch typically on the concrete lid, and it's on all the concrete rebar in the tank itself.
Oh yeah.
And so usually when I'm running it, I can find it and be like, all right, here's a big rectangle. Or if you don't know where, you can reach out to the health department and get some records from the county.
Well, I like what we did too is like after we found it, went back to that the cap that was closest to the house, and in a Sharpie drew out a line and said center of cap this many feet, and then with an arrow, just that way, like I mean for the next person or yourself coming back later, now you're not guessing, you can measure from this spot.
And again, it's just those simple little things those are always my recommendations, is even if you think you're going to move or you're planning to stay there, just make it a lot easier on yourself. And if you find out you have a 3-foot deep tank, go buy a riser, or we can install the risers, or other folks can too. But that way you're just not having to break your back trying to dig.
You don't need a permit or anything for the risers, right?
Nope.
That's cool. Uh, are they like set sizes, or can like cut them?
Usually they're set sizes, but you can get them. I mean, basically you can stack on each other, so they're kind of a modular. So if you need to go deeper, you go deeper. If you don't need to go as deep, kind of get whatever size you want.
Kind of fit you in there correctly. Yep. Right on. Was there anything else that, like, I don't know, misconceptions? Because I swear that this could go on for days.
Oh yeah. I can't think of a whole lot of other big misconceptions than what we kind of already talked about. Just the recommendation for
stop. Literally just flush your crap down the toilet.
Yep.
Don't add anything else.
Don't add a whole lot of other stuff. Don't
get those doggy bags for female hygiene products.
Yeah,
and
flushable wipes, other stuff like that. So, well, you can't hide anything from the septic guy.
Yeah,
so
you've seen it all.
I've seen all sorts of stuff. So, funny story. So, a buddy of mine wanted his septic tank pumped, and so I went out there and was pumping it, and his teenage son was with us. And so as we're, pumping it and doing everything, anything you flush down the toilet ends up in there.
Right.
So if you have, I don't know, some sort of I'm trying to think of a nice way to say contraceptive devices that you may be using. Yeah, those do appear. Yeah. And those float typically.
And they don't deteriorate.
So super funny, awkward for me, but hilarious later because I was trying not to laugh. My buddy looks at his son and said, "Well, I know those aren't mine." And his son got bright red and, a lot of hemming and hawing and maybe when we had company over or something, visitors came over. Yeah, that makes total sense. So, just
be careful who you have come over and flush stuff down your toilet.
Yeah, be careful. Just
know who you invite over.
Yeah, anything you flush down. Another really weird thing that I still have no idea how it got down there. An inflated balloon. Yeah. Not like big, but
like actual
but an actual balloon. Like I don't. The only thing I could come up with is it was really cold, and so the air shriveled the balloon, and they got flushed somehow or something. And then in the septic tank, it warmed back up because the septic tank is a lot warmer.
Okay.
That was a weird one. Yeah, I can't.
That's why you can't like explain that.
No, I have no idea. So that's another thing to look at, especially during this time of year in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes you'll see a perfect rectangle of melted snow in your yard.
Yeah, for sure.
That's your septic tank.
Yeah, I remember my wife, she was like, there's something wrong. I was like, no, I'm pretty sure the shit's hot.
Yep.
So, yeah.
So that's another thing to look for. Let's see, I think it was a year or two ago, just the way the spring was, and I think it was warm. We didn't get a whole lot of moisture. Like the grass on top of our entire septic tank kind of died. So it was like a perfect rectangle of dead grass. Again, those are all indicators of, well, that's where your tank is. So that helps you out as a homeowner, know where it's at.
Yeah, go out there at that time. If you don't know where the cap's at, now you can kind of go through and find it.
Yep. Go look for it. And again, typically they're not too far in from the leading edge, and they're about in the middle of the tank.
Okay.
So if you know where about your middle of your tank is, and you know where that front edge is, go about 6 inches to a foot in and start there, and then you should be able to find the lid.
Sounds easy enough.
Yeah.
Until you have to start digging.
Then you start digging up your whole yard and you're questioning your life choices.
I did. I was like, I'm going to have him come.
Yeah, this isn't working.
Leave this to a professional. Well, thanks for coming on, dude. And I'll have to have you back on because I'm sure as the year goes on and we have more stuff coming up because wintertime isn't really your hot season, right?
No. Typically we run from spring through fall, late fall. We don't do a lot of stuff in the winter just because, again, trying to dig up frozen ground, that's no fun. No fun for anybody.
Yeah. A little bit different this year, although it is white out now.
Yeah, it's weird. Finally got some snow on the ground.
It's weird. So I have to figure out how to drive on the ice again. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, watch out for all the first year Idahoans out and about. They're probably gonna be slip sliding around. So
yeah, I hate when people get on the case of like the teenagers that are in like the parking lot doing the donuts, or they call them cookies up here, right? Yep. But I'm like, that's how I learned how to
that's a great
navigate.
Way to learn.
They're not, as long as they're not doing it around people.
Sure, and they're not gonna hit stuff. A big wide open parking lot on a Thursday night where there's nobody there. Oh yeah, absolutely. That's how I learned as well. So I think that's a great way to learn how to,
get yourself into a controlled situation with a slight little chaos, and then get yourself out.
Yeah, learn what your
Learn
car's
by
gonna
doing.
do as you're sliding. Yep.
Right on. Well, guys, we'll see you next trip, and thanks for joining us. See ya.
Thanks for riding along on Where the Road Gets Real. We appreciate you listening and watching. If you enjoyed the conversation or want to be part of it, please share, like, subscribe, or reach out to join us on the show. Until then, we'll catch you on the next one.